Hello, today we're going to be talking about an update of firmware with the CMMT-ST stepper controller, and we're going to be discussing the multi-protocol controller. The multi-protocol is capable of both Ethernet IP, Profinet, and EtherCAT. And the first thing we need to do with the firmware update is we need to navigate to our local website for Festo, and we'll navigate to the software area here. Festo Automation Suite is used to commission the hardware. Then there's a plug-in version for the stepper controller, and we download and install those. Festo Automation Suite installs first, the plug-in installs afterwards, and then beyond this we need the firmware package. And depending on what protocol we're using, you would later need the configuration files for your PLC or so forth. We're not going to get into that detail. We're going to be specifically talking about the firmware, so we're going to assume that we have installed the Festo Automation Suite package along with the plugin, and we have, of course, website activity here. And we're connected to the controller via Ethernet cable on the front port of the X18, or the X18 port on the front of the controller. So if I scroll up here to the picture, this right here is the X18 port. The top ports over here are for the Ethernet IP. The top, or the front port here, the X18, is for commissioning with the Festo Automation Suite software. You can utilize this one here, but for the sake of this video, we want to use the X18 out of the package. Okay, so when we start up the Festo Automation Suite software, or let's go about starting this ourselves here. Festo Automation Suite starts up. You likely will not have the green aura around the windows. That's just my virtual machine feature. And the first thing we want to do is make sure that we can scan the hardware. So this is your startup here. The first thing I do is go to the scan. A brand new controller out of the box will come with 192.168.0.98, or I mean 0.1, I think it is. In this case here, I have updated the IP address to this right here, and we also see here that my particular controller from manufacturing came with the 33.0.10.10 release firmware on it. To update the network settings, you can simply come over here and type in the IP here under network settings, and then you basically activate the new settings down here. I've done this previously, so I'm not going to do this again. And at this point, you would think you could use the firmware update here, and you can, but you have to have the working files and whatnot. We're not going to talk about that in this video here. We're going to be talking about using the web server. So we are going to click on the device, and then we're going to say Open Device Web Page. So it should go back to the web browser that you have as default here. So we were already on the web page over here. Now we're on this tab right here. And then we have the parameterization tab, and then we come to the download firmware package. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is choose the file. So we have downloaded that file previously. I'm going to search for that file. This is the file right here that I've chosen to be the one that I'm updating. It now does this. And now download firmware. And we see here that the 2, 4, 5, it's now updating the device, and we simply wait. As you can see down here, you can also update the firmware or the network settings here in the web browser. It's quite a nice web browser. We'll see here that this NRT, that's network real time, that's the top port I showed you earlier. That's what you're setting for an IP address, which you can do yourself or use other software to do that. And if we refresh this here, the package that I downloaded here, just so we can see that itself, they're not in a particular order here, 32, 33, 33.0.10.12, so it's this one right here. I clicked on this button right here to download it. And I had to unzip it first to a directory so I could choose it, because there's other information in there like configuration files. And right now the ERNSFNF light is solid red, and the LED on the left side is flashing red. So successful. So now we're going to do a execute firmware update. Now the controller has restarted, and we have a yellow flashing LED. And if I do a refresh now, it's still waiting for the IP address down here. It shows you. So it's still in the middle of doing the update.
the refresh. Now the red ER, NS, NF light is on solid.
Let's see what happens when I do a refresh now. Still nothing.
Okay, now the LEDs have changed status. Now we have, from top to bottom, we have a red solid ER, NS, and F light, and then next to the X1A connector, the top LED is flashing red. Then below that we have a green, and then the little green man.
And if we do a refresh right now, now we're back to here. Go to the info section here. We'll see here that the firmware is now up to date. If we go back to the Festo Automation Suite software, do a refresh, we'll see here that we have the .10.12, and so forth. And that's it. Firmware is complete.